Hi there, my name's Andrew, I play guitar in My Dying Bride, and this is Rockin Häkissä. Nice one.
All right, here we are at the Dark Room Festival with Andy from My Dying Bride. Welcome to Finland once again.
Thank you very much, pleasure to be back.
Hey, if I understand right, you have a couple shows at Europe before coming to Finland. How were the shows?
Nervy, but successful. Nervy because obviously we have a temporary singer, a special guest singer in Miko from Swallow the Sun, of course, who's been helping us out brilliantly, I might add. But nevertheless adds an element of pressure that you might not normally have. But they were both very well received, and from our point of view we had some technical hiccups as I was just mentioning on the second show in Slovakia, but overall phenomenal. Both gigs were very, very successful, very happy.
So you guys released your latest album, Immortal Binding, over a year ago. So are you still doing songs from that album, or do you have kind of selected set list for these summer shows?
We've brought 2 songs from that album. We're doing a Second of Three Bells, which was one of the videos that we liked, and we're doing, it's a little bit adventurous, but we're doing a song called The Apocalyptist, which is a bit long, but we like it. It's very heavy. We've kind of dressed the set to be quite powerful. We just feel a little bit, we just want a rock and roll type of, even though we're classed as a doom metal album, a doom metal band. So the set is very heavy. There's not a lot of delicate moments in it, apart from maybe 1 or 2. But so it's a very heavy metal set, and that's more or less what we're here to do. But just 2 songs. The rest are, from all, we've got something off Dreadful Hours, we've got something from Angel, and Like Gods too. So there's a fair mix. We've got choices, but 2 off the new album, definitely.
Well, you have recorded 15 studio albums, so there's lots of stuff where to pick up songs. So that's kind of a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, there's an element of spoilt for choice to a degree, but this set was kind of partially determined by what Miko was comfortable with as well. He's not new to My Dying Bride. Thankfully, he knows we've been around a while, and he knows some of the songs, so he chose the ones, and we kind of dressed the others and said, yeah, okay, between us we can do this. Even right down to I'm pointing that way because that's where Miko is. Right down to Feel the Misery, which is relatively new. We do that to great success as well. So we're happy enough with the set, but there's some pretty quick stuff, and it's not all doom and gloom.
Well, that's great to hear, and that's something really nice to look forward as we see it later tonight. Hey, you mentioned you have Mikko from Swallow the Sun doing now these live shows. How did he, slip into the My Dying Bride when you called him? Can you do this?
Yeah, well, the situation's been a little strange. We weren't fully aware of Aaron's plans for this hiatus that he went on, and the timing was possibly not the best timing from our point of view, or promoting an album's point of view. So it took us some time to work out what we wanted to do, because we weren't really ready to go on hiatus, if truth be known. So one of the guys, I'm not sure which one, but one of the guys asked, let's just, in fact we only thought of Miko, we just said let's ask Miko, see what he says. And he said, oh yeah, I'd love to do that, that'd be a great idea. He said, you come in as special guest, we see how it goes. And it was there was no drama, it really was as simple as that. So he flew over, we had a couple of rehearsals, quickly realised, one of the good things, this is quite odd, is the first time we heard live vocals on the Second of Three Bells off the new album and Apocalyptist was with Miko, because we hadn't rehearsed them in the rehearsal with Aaron. He doesn't come to that, so this was new, so we got to hear the new songs with vocals for the first time, so that was all, we loved that. He flew home and we were like, wow, we think this is going to work. He flew back just in front of these shows. We had some rehearsals, very successful. The gigs were very nervy, as I mentioned earlier, but it's been easy. It's been relatively easy. We practice a lot, so we're well rehearsed. But the actual just getting the call to him was easy. he just said yes, which was easy. I mean, there was just nothing to it. If truth be known, we have a couple of other doom metal singers that are very close to if Miko hadn't have panned out. I won't mention their names because people will probably start to hate them if we do that, so they can stay protected for now. So we had options, but thankfully Miko, and he fits in so well. He's such a character.
Well, that's what he told to another Finnish media, because I just read an interview with how he felt that he just got a phone call and he was watching Olympics at home. Yes, I'm coming.
I didn't want to mention that. Yeah, he was watching the skating apparently, Olympic skating, which I find, that's got to be the dullest thing in the history of dullness. So I'm watching skating. Shall I sing for my dying bride? Yeah, all right. That's how he operates. So, but he fits in well, and oddly enough, obviously Aaron has a distinct vocal style, which has been sort of performing and sort of practicing over many years. And I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know much about Swallow the Sun, but I know Miko's vocals match very closely. But we're not trying to match. We're not going to try and replace like for like. Miko's the special guest doing these songs our way, but with his way as well. That kind of thing. And so far, it's working really well. I mean, we played in Slovakia just last week, and when he walks out on stage, people cheer. I don't get a cheer when I walk out, so that must mean something. So it was pretty cool, and it settles the nerves when people are accepting the new guy, and we just press straight on. It's been good. It's been good.
Well, that sounds great for you guys. Yeah.
It's been a relief because obviously we wanted to tour we don't tour in a sort of a like Iron Maiden or type of way, but we wanted to gig the album and at least get out there and play some of the new songs, and that was kind of shut down without our knowledge relatively early on, and we were a bit surprised at the decision making on that. I mean, understandable that Aaron wants to promote his solo bands. I mean, who wouldn't? And his new projects, fair enough, but we're trying to not have it such a detrimental effect on us, and it's working so far. You get mixed messages online, but that's online. It's a cesspit. Who cares? So we just, when we stand in front of people, you get a very different vibe, very positive. So it's working. We're enjoying ourselves. It's good.
That's great. Hey, one thing I wanted to ask you about is that when you're writing new stuff, and some of your songs has kind of clean vocal lines, and then there's a line where it goes like crawling. So do you know when you're writing the song, do you have an idea at that point already this line goes like crawling kind of style and this is clean?
Yeah, I do. It doesn't always transpire that that's what happens, but we tend to know. Well, I mean, we've been doing it long enough now. We can see, and we just use a simple contrast kind of version. So if you've got a really delicate slow riff here, and that will work really well with a heavier riff immediately after it, or something with more aggression. Second to Three Bells is a classic example of this. And then when the heavy part comes in, that sounds like it's going to be death metal vocals there, and the death metal vocals go on, and it works perfectly. It's not. When you're tried and tested like we are, we have a template, if you will, it's not even a template. It just works, but perversely or contradictorily, you can do the same way. You can put death metal vocals on something that's very delicate, and it has an immediate effect in ways that you might not expect. So as much as we tend to go not necessarily down the obvious route, the more aggressive guitar lines tend to lean themselves to more aggressive vocals, but sometimes we just contradict ourselves and just don't do that as well. So but that's the beauty of it. We have an idea, we try it works or it doesn't, and then we move on. So
but that's what I wanted to know. So you have the kind of idea that this goes on crawl. Well, yeah.
I mean, most people, and we tend to be quite diplomatic when it comes to those kind of things, and there are certain areas where the clean vocals are obviously the right idea, and we'll still try the sort of death metal stuff just to see if it has that weird effect, and if it does, we'll keep it. But more often than not, and this is probably just because we've been doing it for a while, we tend to be more or less right first time now. Death metal, clean, death metal, clean. The drawback being with the death metal stuff is it's hard to do. You know what I mean? It's hard to do, to get all the air in the lungs and push it out. It takes some doing, and that he prefers the softer vocals, which is kind of understandable because we're all getting on a bit, I suppose. But we're still trying to balance it so it still represents the music. bearing in mind that our knees and our lungs might not be able to take it in the way they could 20 years ago.
Well, great answer. Thank you for that. Well, let's go back to Mikko. I think he must be a crazy guy because he's doing 2 shows tonight.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I know. I've met him for maybe solidly a week, and I can confirm he is a crazy guy. There's no two ways about that. He is definitely unhinged and in a nice way.
Yeah.
And he's just, I think he just loves it, and he'll sit there in his own mind contemplating his own decisions, but it's tough. He's made them.
Because I think guitar player or bass player, you can play probably 2 shows with different bands, but I think for a guy who's singing and doing the vocals, it's much harder for him because he uses his voice, and voice have to get some rest at some point.
I would imagine so, but he's taken on to, and these aren't the first ones either. We have some shows that we'll be announcing possibly in the next couple of weeks, even further afield than this, where Swallow the Sun are doing the same shows as well. So he's clearly he's thought about it. He's decided that he can do it, and we'll soon find out. So time will tell. We might be editing this in an hour or 2.
Yeah. All right, we're wiser back later today. Okay, one more question. Black Sabbath. They have been always nominated as godfathers of heavy metal, but for me, the early Black Sabbath albums and doom, death metal, I found the similar hooks from your songs. For me, I can find the same kind of atmosphere than they had in these early albums. What do you think? Is Black Sabbath also godfathers of doom and death metal?
It would be, I think, political and musical suicide for me to say anything negative about Black Sabbath right now, and I reckon this is a baited question that there's no way you can say anything negative about Black Sabbath.
No. And I didn't mean that the way.
No, but I mean, even if I thought, no, I've never listened to them, I don't care for them, you couldn't say that out loud right now. What I will answer is, I think the answer is yes, but I don't think it's necessarily in the way everybody thinks. Yeah. Because if you were to ask them, or if you watch interviews of them like I have done, they don't consider themselves a doom metal band at all, and never really did. So we've adopted them into this realm and put them on the throne that they quite deservedly should be on. To answer the question, are they influential in ways that almost no other band is? Yes, absolutely, without doubt, no question. No one's ever going to argue about that, even if they're terrified of the internet. That's just going to be a yes. But grandfathers of doom, would they think that? I reckon not. Do we? Yes, we do. Absolutely. I mean, and right now I think it's a dangerous question.
Yeah. And that's how the generation, people are changing, generations think different. But for me, like I said, I find the similar hooks. Some of your songs and also other bands. But anyway,
listen. I mean, everybody in in My Dying Bride, from the very early albums, say up to maybe The Light at the End of the World, we weren't listening to Black Sabbath, and it's not because we didn't like them. It's just that we were listening to Morbid Angel and Deicide and Candlemas and Celtic Frost and and Master and this kind of thing, Malevolent Creation, all and Forbidden and all the so. And having said that, and with no disrespect, we weren't listening to Iron Maiden either back then, because we were listening to Slayer and Anthrax and Testament. So it's not that we didn't. No one in this band did, and some of the band will openly, say that they never really were fans. But we've grown backwards into them, I'm a big fan now, but I wasn't always. So it wasn't something we didn't grow with them, or as we started, we used Black Sabbath as a template, as something we should use. But looking back now, you can see that we might have done later, which is kind of paradoxical, but we certainly didn't in the early days. That's just, I don't know what you might want, I don't know how you equate that.
Well, anyway. Great band, Black Sabbath, and nice farewell. But by the way, were you watching them?
No, we were on stage in Hungary, I think, doing the first show.
Yeah.
So sorry we missed that.
All right. Thanks, Andy.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great show.
Thank you very much. Okay, you're in big trouble now.
Yeah.